Back to the draft. Back to the draft. All right, to begin the third round. I think we got to go Brock Bowers here. It's been too long. I don't mind taking a tight end. I don't want to take a tight end in the top 2 rounds because I think there's so much talent this year. Oops. I'm going to have to restart that real quick. Now we're in the third round. So I don't mind taking a tight end in the third round. I think I would prefer not to in most instances, but Brock Bowers, obviously one of the best, not just tight ends, one of the best receivers last year. Finishes the number one. Yeah, I don't know why it says number 2 tight end. He was the number 1 tight end last year. Had 1,194 yards, 112 receptions, 153 targets, which is absolutely insane for a tight end, man. So Brock Bowers had an amazing season last year. I see him being the team drafted no receivers. They haven't added any receivers besides Jack Besh. So I'm all, if you want to draft Brock Bowers, feel free. The only concern I have about Bowers this year as compared to last year is that Pete Carroll does not always use his tight end effectively. That's the one concern I have about Brock Bowers is Pete Carroll, even Chip Kelly, don't really use their tight ends like that. So that would be the one concern I have with them. All right, next up. We are going to get into another receiver here, and I'm going to go T. Higgins, who has immense upside here. And I've been wondering about T. Higgins because he rarely finishes a year. You know what? I'm taking T. Higgins off, bro. I'm not putting T. Higgins up there. I want to put T. Higgins up there so bad, but I'm not going to put T. Higgins up there because that's disrespectful to a couple other receivers who deserve it more. And one of those receivers is Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin deserves it. Whoever called that out in the comments, T-Mac, you are right. Terry McLaurin deserves to go there. And I know that T. Higgins has a lot of upside, but Terry McLaurin has been one of the safest receivers. Was one of the safest receivers last year, especially with the addition of Jaden Daniels. Now, he was very consistent throughout the year, had big games, very rarely had like this 1-for-5 game that probably burned a lot of people here in the playoffs. He had a 1-for-10 game, but those were both against the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. No, that last one was against Atlanta. But he's a very safe player. Finishes the wide receiver 5 last year, and although in the past he's been like a top 20-ish type receiver, with Jaden Daniels, he was much better last year. So just reaching his prime, he's 29 years old. I think Terry McLaurin's a very nice pick here. Y'all are going to be mad at me, bro. Y'all are going to be mad at me. Y'all watching. Now people in the comments, I think you guys already know me, the people who are watching live, but those who watch me later are going to be like really upset with me. And it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Next up. It's been too long. My guy, Mike. Mike Evans going off the board here. Obviously, Chris Godwin might be back. The team drafted Emeka Egbuka, and Liam Cohen's not there anymore. So there could be a lot of things here with Mike, but he finishes the wide receiver 7, and he missed 3 games. He missed time last year. Another 1,000-yard season on deck. Him and Baker have a good relationship. He's going to score over 10 touchdowns. He was the number 14. This sounds more accurate than number 7. I think this number sounds more accurate. The wide receiver 14 last year. But Mike is consistent as they come, and I'm not willing to bet on a fall off. When it happens, it happens. I think getting Mike here in the 3rd round is an absolute steal. All right, next up. So here's where I'm starting to think about, like, okay, T. Higgins has upside. Marvin Harrison has upside. JSN and Ladd McConkey, they have floor. Which one of these players could really just destroy things if things go right? Like, which one of these guys could be like a top 5 receiver out of these? Who do you guys think has that capability, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking of here. Running back wise, which one of these guys could be a top 5 running back if everything goes right? And I don't really see it's a path to top 5 for Bucky, Chase Brown. Maybe Ashton Jeanty. James Cook, no. Kenneth Walker, no. Chuba Hubbard, no. Joe Mixon, maybe if he stays healthy, he was kind of on that pace last year. So really, like Ashton Jeanty, Joe Mixon is what I'm considering here. Kenneth Walker would be a 3rd. Then Bucky and Chase Brown would be in that consideration. So I'm going to go receiver here, right? Tight end, you'd have to take Trey McBride, which I think he's a good outlier. But Hawkinson, Kittle, they offer similar type value. You can get Andrews, Kelsey, some other options later that are startable, right, besides Trey McBride. And I don't think it's time for quarterback yet. Quarterback, you got a lot of quarterbacks that are around each other points-wise, projections, Josh Allen, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts. You got Mahomes down here. Like, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are here. I think it's time for my favorite pick, Marvin Harrison. And I think anything early in this third round is probably where I'm thinking about taking him. I really think Marvin Harrison has like top 10 receiver upside, and you're going to get him way later than that. I also believe Marvin Harrison has like top 5 receiver upside. If he had 1,500 yards this year, I don't think it would shock anybody. We were all expecting that kind of upside last year, and I don't think that upside just goes away after seeing him on the field. The biggest concern is Trey McBride. I'm not overly concerned about Trey McBride being the guy that takes – I think there's going to be a changing of the guard here. So Marvin Harrison for me, 4th pick in this round. Next up, let's go T. Higgins. I think he provides a lot of that similar upside on a week-to-week basis, especially if Jamar Chase did get hurt. The one thing you got to worry about with T. Higgins is, can he stay healthy? And I think that's the biggest concern here for anybody that drafts him, is he's missed time over the years. Next up, let's go with the running back position. And it comes down to 2 running backs for me right now. I'm going to go with Joe Mixon first. This is a reach on sleeper. Okay, remember that. This is a reach on sleeper. You may not have to take Joe Mixon this early. You may not have to. I love Joe Mixon's value here. Let's remember, when he was healthy, Joe Mixon was balling last year. He did get hurt at times last year. But Joe Mixon was on an incredible touchdown streak here in the middle of the season. So I think it's easy to forget what he was doing during the year last year. Joe Mixon missed 3 games, but the team force-fed him. He got injured even down the stretch. He was seeing 25 carries a game. I think Joe Mixon is a very nice bet here. And I want to say he got banged up at some point right around here. Got banged up. Joe Mixon going to be heavily involved in this Houston Texans offense yet again. All right, now we're coming up to some of the more questionable names. At least for me, we have the floor plays here. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Lag McConkey. You also see another name down here, DK Metcalf, who does not have George Pickens anymore and potentially will have Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. Something to think about. I think this is the time to start locking in your running backs. And the name I will go with now does have a lot of upside, Ashton Jeanty. This is about the spot. Back into the 3rd round, middle of the back in the 3rd round. He'll never go here in your drafts. He's going to go 1st round. Back into the 1st round. Ashton Jeanty's going to go back into the 1st round, probably in the 2nd round. But this is about where I think Ashton Jeanty should be going after Christian McCaffrey, after Breece Hall, after Josh Jacobs, after Kyron. Like, after some of your more notable names, even if you want to take him ahead of like Joe Mixon or like up here, I wouldn't be mad at you. This is how I got him right now, Ashton Jeanty. I think he has a lot of upside. I just think that, Raiders offense, there's not a whole lot of other threats. He's a rookie. You got to kind of build that in. And if he had 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns, that would be like what Josh Jacobs does on an annual basis. Kyron Williams. That's Kyron Williams numbers. I think he's going a little too high right now with people expecting him to be 1,500 yards, which is what we did with Marv last year, Bijan the year before that. It happens. All right, next up. The names I'm looking at here, Bucky Irving, James Cook, Kenneth Walker, maybe Chase Brown. I don't think Chase Brown's going to go for me in this round. But James Cook, Kenneth Walker, Bucky Irving. I kind of got Bucky Irving at the back end here. I like James Cook, Kenneth Walker, both a little bit more. Receivers, it really comes down to Jackson Smith-Njigba, Ladd McConkey, and this receiver that I'm going to take right here, DK Metcalf. And this is all contingent on Aaron Rodgers signing, which all indications that he is. But DK Metcalf's going to have a very strong season. And I think people forget who DK Metcalf is because he didn't have a strong season last year. But DK Metcalf has always been like a mid-tier wide receiver 1. And with Aaron Rodgers, the one thing that DK hasn't seen a lot in his career is the consistent touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers will throw touchdowns to DK Metcalf. He will throw touchdowns. It's what he loves to do in the red zone. We'll see that more than anything. So DK Metcalf, to me, deserves to be here. And I think we could see, even because Aaron Rodgers almost threw for 4,000 yards last year, I think we see DK Metcalf have a really big season if, even with Arthur Smith, Mike Tomlin, and how they love to run the football, if Aaron Rodgers is there and they don't add another receiver besides Allen Lazard, who they're in talks to add, DK Metcalf's going to have a big season. All right, now we're going to get into like the JSN, Ladd McConkey, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown range. And this is all subjective, right? I think you can pick who you like here. For me, I really like Kenneth Walker at this range. Clint Kubiak is now the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. And we're talking about a team who will now use Kenneth Walker in multiple ways. In the passing game, get him involved. We've seen what he's done. Clint Kubiak's done with CMC and Alvin Kamara. Both of those guys have been locks for top 10. I think Kenneth Walker is a good bet to do the same. At the receiver position, I'll go Ladd McConkey here. I'm not a big fan of Ladd McConkey, but I think this is about the range where he deserves to go. Probably like your wide receiver 15 to 20 range. He's going to go higher than that in your drafts. So it's okay. You can either not get him, but if this is about where I would start to take him. If some of the bigger names, the touchdown guys were gone. Ladd McConkey did really have a really strong season last year, finishes the wide receiver 11. But to me, the team added Trey Harris. We know they want to run the football better than they did last year. That's why you go get into Marion Hampton. That's why you sign a Najee Harris. So I know J.K. Dobbins was good, but he wasn't a 1,000-yard back last year. And Gus Edwards was terrible last year. So I think this team would like to run the ball more, probably pass to Ladd McConkey less. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if I'm wrong. But my guess is that he dials it back just a little bit for fantasy. We're probably not seeing 1,100 yards out of him next year, especially not 7 touchdowns. That was a lot for him, in my opinion. But I think he's a solid value for where he's at right here with these players around him. Next up, Bucky Irving, who is definitely not going to make it down here to the 11th pick, but I think this should be a third-round guy more so than like an early-round guy. I think Bucky Irving will have another strong season, probably splitting work still with Rachaad White, but no Liam Cohen. How does this offense change? Do they still force feed Bucky Irving as their guy? And he got it done a lot in the passing game last year, which was kind of intriguing because I thought that Rachaad White was their passing game guy. So to me, he didn't finish as a top 10 back last year, and he's clearly going as that this year. I don't see him being a top 10 back next year, and I think that's where he's going to be going in most drafts. So I will probably be out on Bucky Irving. This is about where I would take him. And the last pick of this round, I'm still not going quarterback here. I think it'd be very easy to take like a Josh Allen here. JSN, I don't like this pick. JSN, bro. I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm not going to take it. It's James Cook time. James Cook. I probably should have took him over Bucky, but James Cook, coming off of a strong season, says he wants to get the ball, feature more, was the RB7 last year, wants to get paid. I can see James Cook having another strong season. The thing about him, though, is that it was baked into the touchdowns. He had 16 touchdowns last year, which you love to see, but you also wonder, like, is Josh Allen going to take some of those away again, or are they going to continue to feed him in the red zone? They did use some of their other backs, Ty Johnson. Ray Davis started getting a lot of love during the season, but James Cook continued to be used in the red zone even down the stretch here. So I think James Cook is I probably would have took him over Bucky, if I'm being honest. But I think I like James Cook at this spot here. All right. What do you guys think of this round? Is this draft cooked? What do y'all think? What do y'all think of this shit?